What's up, guys? T-Fade here, and today I want to talk about enclosure design. Now, if you ask anyone, just about anyone out there, the default answer for enclosure design would probably be WinISD. And while I do like WinISD, it's a pretty great program, a free program. It's pretty powerful. It is a little daunting for new users. It's pretty in-depth, pretty complicated. A lot of people get frustrated with WinISD as a first-time user and give up, and that's terrible because it's a designing your own enclosures is a really it's a fun and rewarding thing to do. So we want to make it as easy as possible for people to try different enclosure designs and play around with different sizes and tunings and woofers and stuff to just see how it all works, man. So today I want to show you guys a really cool website that I found. Some of y'all might have seen this before, some of y'all may not. If you haven't, this is a really cool website that makes enclosure design barrier to entry pretty low, and it also has a couple of really cool features that are included in some of the more powerful softwares like WinISD or Bagby software, Basebox Pro, stuff like that. So let's just get right into it. The website is SpeakerBox Lite, SpeakerBox Lite, LITE.com. And that is not, what did I spelled something wrong here? SpeakerBoxLite.com. There it is. Yeah, so anyway, okay, we got it, and it'll bring you to this page here, and we want to jump right into it to design a box, and it brings you right into a new project. Okay, that is my Brave browser, and before you start, tell it what units you want, metric or imperial, standard. I'm gonna stick with standard, it's easier for me. And one of the other things you want to select when you come in here, you'll notice that this graph is full range out to 22K, but we're just designing subwoofer enclosures, so we'll come up here to these tabs and just select 2K so we can zoom in just a little bit. Now this is the speaker page. You can see these menus up here: speaker, volume, and box. So this is the parameters that you're gonna want to enter, and you can see here the light parameters. It really only calls for 3. Now we do need to expand this and enter one other parameter to take full advantage of what I wanted to show you guys. But if you're just playing around, you just need the big 3: FS, VAS, and QTS. All right, so let's go ahead and get started, and let's pick. Well, actually, before we do that, you can see this sidebar here of menus, and they actually have a database of drivers. So you can come in here and check out the database, and they actually have a lot of brands that you wouldn't normally see, like especially on WinISD's database. It's terrible. American Bass, Alphard. I mean, they have a lot of subs that we would normally use in the bass head world. DD, DC. It's pretty awesome to see. And the one that I was going to choose for EMF for our demonstration purposes here is, look at that, FU Audio. That's crazy. They unfortunately don't have the one in here. Maybe I'll add it when I get done. It is the FU 750, but I want to do a 12 because we are doing a 12-inch sub roundup. So we're going to go to FU Audio and look for the FU 750 12. And there it is. Normally, oh man, look at that, $129. Man, y'all better jump on these things. Normally in the description down here, they're gonna give you the Thiel Small, but it looks like we need to look at some pictures here to get the Thiel Small. And here they go. FU 750 12. What are we looking for? We are looking for FS, so 33 hertz. We're just gonna put that in there. 33, and then the VAS, where is it? 34.4 liters. What is that's about 1.2 cubic feet or so. And then QTS 0.51. We'll throw those in there. And like I said, we have to expand this one more time and tell the software how much power we're going to give it. And right here, PE, that's power. We're going to give it 750 watts because that is rated power. All right. And we can collapse that. And right here, it'll ask you if it's one or multiples or isobaric configuration. We're just going to stick with a single. And then you come up here and you go to volume. And up here, you'll see a slider. And it sort of just spits out what the software thinks you should use this sub in. And you can see it's sort of skewed towards the sealed box or single reflex bandpass. So it has that selected by default, but we want to do a ported box. So we're going to select vented from this drop down. Keep box losses at whatever's in there unless you have a good reason not to. And this is where you tell it how big you want the box and the tuning. Or they have some popular default alignments down here. So max flat amplitude, you can see if you select these, it'll spit out the volume and tuning. Max flat, optimum volume, bass, boombox, quasi third, Chevy shove. Anyway, you can choose one of these, or you can just go. A lot of manufacturers have recommended down here. So you can see FU is telling us 1 3/4 or 2 cubes at 32 to 35 hertz, which looks like pretty close to optimum volume, except with lower tuning. So if you have this selected, you can go ahead and click draw down here, and it'll give us a graph of the predicted frequency response. I know this is probably elementary to a lot of y'all, but just walking you through here. So let's try optimum volume, see what that looks like. And that is a pretty good looking frequency response right there. Just for fun, let's compare that to what FU says. So FU says 2 cubes at 32 hertz, and it's about 2 cubes. Let's see what bumping the tuning does. And you can see that's what we expect. A little higher tuning gets us a little bit more gain, but a sharper roll off, which may or may not be good depending on how you want your response. And that's the fun thing about enclosure design, is you can play around with this stuff and see how box size and how tuning affects things. Let's do a burp box. Let's say one cube at 50 hertz. What's that look like? There you go. Burp box style. Bingo. So that's the fun part of enclosure design and trying this stuff yourself. And like I said, this website makes it super easy. I actually almost always use this site on mobile when I'm out and about, and that's a benefit of this website versus WinISD or other programs that I've seen. Is it's really not miserable doing this on mobile. So you guys can do this on the fly. You see a sub, you see a box, you want to just plug it in really quickly and see what it looks like. There you go. Now, one of the really cool things about this website is it has this really cool feature up here, and you'll see it up here by the 2K or full range menu, and it's a little picture of a car. And what this does is it's going to take transfer function of your vehicle into account. Now, what is that? It's basically cabin gain. Now, we know things get louder when you put them in a car or a room or whatever, and depending on how big your room or your car is, you'll get a different transfer function or a different gain. So let's try it. Let's do this and see what it does. Now, this frequency here is your interior transfer function, and this is basically asking you how big is your car, and that will dictate where your room gain starts. And the bigger your car, the lower in frequency that's going to start, and the smaller it is, the higher in frequency that's going to start, and it nets you more room gain overall. So the way you find this is you basically measure the interior of your vehicle. So basically from the back wall or the back of the trunk all the way to the firewall. So the longest your car is inside in the cabin where the sub is going to be. And the way you figure that out is you take that dimension, whatever it is, let's just say for simplicity's sake, let's say it's 10 feet. Okay. So it's 10 feet from your back wall to your firewall. Now we take the speed of sound, which is 1125 or 1130 feet per second, depending on who you ask, or your elevation. Let's do 1125 divided by your longest dimension, which is your back wall to your firewall, times 2. So 10 feet, that's 20. So 1125 divided by 20, and that is 56. So that is your frequency. That's your frequency where your room gain is going to start, okay, for a 10-foot car. If it's bigger, if it's 20 feet, you do 20 or 40 feet. 20 times 2. So 56 and a quarter. Let's just do 56 hertz here. And the rise is going to be 12 dB. So you get 12 dB per octave of gain. The further you go down in frequency, the more gain you're going to get. And just as a side note, this is why sealed boxes play pretty flat in cars normally, because sealed boxes roll off at 12 dB per octave, minus 12, and your car gives you 12. So they tend to measure pretty flat in a car. So we're going to enable this 12 dB starting at 56 hertz, enable, and you can see right there how the frequency response changed of all of those boxes. So go back and disable it. That's what you're going to see normally when you design a box, and then enable, and this is what it's predicted to look like in the car, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to find out what it looks like in the car. Now what's interesting about this is we did max flat amplitude or optimum volume, 2 cubes at 26 hertz. That's the green line, red line. And we can see we get a ton of gain. That dotted line is 0 dB, so that's maximally flat, 0 dB line. Now what's interesting about this is we can quote unquote get away with a much smaller box than we think we might need. So let's go back here and let's try 1.5 cubes. Instead of going with a 2 cubic foot box, let's try 1.5 cubes and see what that looks like. We really don't give up a ton of output for going with a 0.5 cubic foot smaller box, which is pretty awesome if you think about it. And that's 1 cube. Look at that. 1 cube is starting to get even flatter, and we're still getting pretty good gain of 6 dB of output over 0. That's pretty awesome. So I really like this feature here. It can help you, especially with especially if you have too small, if you can't fit a huge enclosure. But this is a really fun, really cool tool. It's super simple. It's just math, really, but it does it for you and gives you a visualization of what it can look like. Now, I probably wouldn't recommend 1 cube, but I mean, the math doesn't lie. You could get away with it if you wanted. And I actually used this for the box in my car. My sub called for 1 cube on the model, but I put it in actually 0.3, and it measures like almost perfectly flat. Very, very, very little EQ to get it flat. Now, another really cool feature of this website, it's included in most software, but to be on a website and to be able to do it on mobile is pretty awesome. And that is that's the reason we had to put the power in here, because we are going to do vent mock. Now to see vent mock, where are we? I forgot what. Is it the drawings? I forget where we put. Oh, here, settings. Here we go. All right, we want to see, and you can see there's other graphs that it will draw for you. Now, let's take away group delay for the moment and do vent air velocity. This is vent Mach, the velocity of the air inside the port. Big values of that graph may cause ugly sound effects from the port. Yeah, so chuffing, vent noise. It's also going to neuter your output, which is not good. All right, so hit apply there, and then we have to tell it what kind of port we have. And we'll go down here, we'll tell it a round port. Yeah, we got 2 flared ends, 1 port, and we're gonna unlock this FB here so we can play around with the port. So let's just say, what would you use for a 12? A single 4. Single 4-inch, 6-inch flares, and then what were we tuning to? 26. And then we have to tell it how long the port needs to be. And you can see it's changing the tuning up there. Oh wait, that's the flare radius. My bad. And the diameter is 4. There we go. And you can see here that the port. This is the only kind of fiddly part. You have to tell it. Kind of have to fiddle with how long the port needs to be. Good Lord, have mercy. How big is this box again? Oh, we're still on 1 cube. No wonder it has to be so long. So let's go back to 2 cubes. 2 cubes at, what did we say? 26. There we go. 4-inch port, 4-inch round port, 6-inch flares, 28 inches long, 26 hertz, and we're gonna draw that. That's the light blue line. Let's just start over. So draw that, and this is what 2 cubes at 26 hertz with a 4-inch port would look like in the car. Now we could flatten that out, but a lot of y'all might like that gain there in the lows. But here it is. Here is vent air velocity, aka vent Mach. And let's zoom in on this graph a little bit. So 40. Now, how do you know what's good and what's bad? Actually, they have it drawn out here for you. Red is bad, and this yellow here, this yellow dotted line is actually pretty optimal. So 17 meters per second is pretty optimal. Keep it under 36. Most people say 30. But you can see here, 40 meters per second. That is definitely going to hurt your output. That is definitely going to cause chuffing, even at 750 watts. So that tells us there that we need either a bigger port. So let's go back to the port, and let's tell it a 6-inch port. Now here's the rub. This element's going to have to be, what? Good grief. 50 inches long. Yeah. There's the rub. 50 something inches long to get us back to 26 hertz. Whew. That is a very, very large port. But you can see right there, 6-inch port. From a 4 to a 6 with the same power in the same box, we go from 40 meters a second to 18, which is almost ideal. But man, I'll tell you, that's going to be tough to fit a 6-inch port that's 55 inches long. That's 5 feet, almost 5 feet long. Yeah, that's going to be tough. But you know, you can always fold it. You can do a rectangle port here. Tell it the dimensions of your rectangle port and the thing, and do the same deal here. But this is a really cool feature of a website program that you would probably have to dig into WinISD to get to. One other thing while we're in here, I wanted to show you. We'll go back to speaker and go back to expanded. Let's go back to the, first of all, let's go back to the 4-inch port. Round port. Let's do a 4-inch. And what was it? 35 inches or so. 30 inches? 29, 28 inches. Okay, 28 inches. Let's clear this and draw that. 40 meters per second with a 4-inch port at 750 watts. Now here's the thing. Here's one of the reasons why the port per cube thing, one of the reasons why it is retarded, because what if you don't have 750 watts? What if you only have 500 watts to give it? Let's go back and draw that with 500 watts. You can see here from 750 watts to 500 watts, it goes from 40 meters a second to 32 or 33 meters per second. So that's the thing about port per cube, is it's volume dependent. It's volume dependent. It is tune dependent. So if you didn't tune so low, it wouldn't be so, the vent mach wouldn't be so high. It has nothing to do with enclosure volume. Nothing. Literally nothing. All right, I think that's about it on the speaker box light tutorial. Quick little video. Just wanted to touch on a couple of things here. The transfer function, cabin gain, and vent mach from a really lightweight website that you guys can do on mobile, out and about, and you don't have to fool with the complications of WinISD. So I invite you guys to go to this website. There's nothing to download. It's obviously free. And just play around. If you're not used to designing your own boxes, go play around on this website. Put in your box and put in your sub and see what it looks like on a graph, and then play around with a different size box or a different size port, and see. Maybe you can optimize your current setup for your car. Maybe you want to build a burp box, or maybe you want a smaller enclosure, and which way can you how small can you go and still have a maximally flat response. Anyway, that's gonna do it for Speaker Box Lite and this video today. T-Fade